Every few years or so, there's always one car manufacturer out there that sets the bar high for luxury and innovation. And just like smartphones, they all have their flagship models, but it's not often you get to see or even experience what these truly inspiring models have to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the 2021 S-Class Saloon. Hey guys, my name is Nick O'Leary, and before we dive into the new S-Class model, some history. Now, years and years ago, Mercedes did of course still make luxury cars, but the S-Class only became part of their family from around about 1951, and since then there's been a total of 7 generations of S-Class, meaning this one's the 7th one. Now, this new one features an amazing grille on the front, giving that nice aggressive look on the road, and also features that classic star that everyone recognises to be an S-Class. The interior has also been completely redesigned, with technology oozing from every seat in the house. So today we're doing a full walkthrough guide on this new model, where we're going to cover off the exterior design, the boot, the interior design, the new MBUX system, the instrument cluster, and of course the rear seats. Now, the dimensions of this new model are very similar to the previous one. The width mirror to mirror is exactly the same, which is great if you're going to go parking in a car park, for example. You've got the same room to get out either side. However, it is slightly longer, but don't worry, that length has been put straight into the inside, so you do get more room for the front, rear, and a bigger boot as well. But don't worry about parking essentially with a longer car. There is a trick up its sleeve where it does have rear wheel steering. We'll cover that more later. Now, just going back to the exterior design, of course I mentioned that new grille just on the front, which does kind of signify this is an S-Class, including the traditional Mercedes star just on the front. But notice as well, there's new lights. These new lights have a thing called digital light. So just going back through the technology of lights over the years. Years ago there were halogen headlights. They kind of have the off-white using a halogen bulb. And then there's bi-xenons, and then LEDs, multi-beam LED in Mercedes, which have 84 different LED chips which can turn off individually and adjust according to a car coming towards you. Very clever. The S-Class, because it is an S-Class, takes things just one little step further. So this is called digital light. In each headlight there are over 1 million pixels, which then have even more control over what happens on the road. So they can react to weather conditions, to traffic, on-road events, all sorts. Basically, it will turn nighttime driving into daytime driving and give you maximum visibility across the road. The rear headlights have also been reworked too, offering an amazing animation when you unlock or lock the car. The new S-Class even features seamless door handles using an internal servo motor that will fold away when not in use, and even present themselves when walking to the car from a distance. Now, the boot is actually 20 litres bigger compared to the previous S-Class. You have the same usual underfloor storage as well, just in case you need to put anything valuable in there away from prying eyes or anything. And new and improved is the ski hatch. So there's a little hatch just in there which now goes through to the interior cabin. You didn't have that before, so that's quite good, adds a bit more practicality. And then of course you've got these usual little hooks here so you can hang shopping, just in case you have something fragile and you don't want it going around the boot in case you took a sharp turn or something. Now the interior is by far the best bit about this new S-Class. For starts, your eyes are instantly drawn to these two new high-resolution OLED screens. Yes, that's right, they're OLEDs. You usually only find that sort of technology in high-end TVs. Now, also going to like the seats, for example, they're quilted and perforated as well, so you've got all these little holes which allow ventilation through. Again, more on that later. But even this ambient lighting, which just cocoons you and wraps you all the way around here. Usually in some cars you have like these little strips of LED lights which look really cool and you can change the colour. But this S-Class just takes it to a whole new level. You know, you've got these strips here that just wrap all the way around the interior, and even matching like the colours on here as well. It literally looks like someone's come in here and just kitted it out with Philips Hue lights. It's just insane. Now these lights also will react to the driving assistance package. So for example, if you have your blind spot assistance, so on the mirrors here you have the red warning triangle. If someone's in your blind spot and you go to indicate, usually you get a beeping sound or a red warning triangle. This will actually react with the lights in here, you know, warning you, whoa, careful, there's someone there. So all this technology just works seamlessly together to offer that complete experience of owning an S-Class. Even changing the temperature, you'll get these pulsating lights just wrap around you. So if I make it warmer now, you'll see these little red lights just fly around past you to the rear. And if I make it cooler, you get the same thing. It's just so cool. Now the heart of this car is MBUX, and it's running on this awesome screen, which, as I've just mentioned, is OLED. Now OLEDs have almost like self-illuminating pixels, so compared to an LED screen, they have like a backlight on the sides or the top or the bottom, and it will just illuminate the whole panel essentially. OLEDs, each pixel can illuminate to a certain brightness. So what you see here basically is deeper blacks and greater clarity across the whole board, and this is for both screens. Both have OLEDs. Now I mentioned MBUX. This is unique to this car, so I hope it will come out to other cars in the following years or so, but this has 4 levels of authentication. So I've covered before, you can create different users for each car, so you can have your own settings, your own ambient light, the way you like them. But this, you know, you can scan your finger on here and it will load up all your settings, or it's got the equivalent of like a Face ID on the screen as well. Now if those two aren't for you, then you could traditionally put your 4-digit PIN in, and that load up all your settings, or you could just ask the voice assistant to load up your personal profile, and it will actually recognize your voice compared to other people as well. So I've got my fingerprint loaded, let's put my finger on there, and it will load up all the settings the way I like them, with my phone connected and that kind of thing. Now this screen, really easy. It looks completely different to any other car, certainly in the Mercedes-Benz range anyway. But at the very top you've got your profile loaded up here. Then we've got the search bar here to search for anything on the system, a favourites button, and then the middle part here would be very similar to what you may have seen on other cars on MBUX systems. So you've got Navi, phone, radio. If we go across, we've got media, and then a few other apps and settings and things like that. Now just underneath the screen there's a row of switches, or I say switches, they're actually all touch sensitive. So just touching dynamic select, you can cycle through the different drive modes from Eco, Comfort, Sport and Sport Plus. Of course, Eco and Comfort are offering the smoothest ride for an S-Class, which is renowned for. Underneath this we have the parking camera. Now I can't show this to its full detail with the doors open at the moment, but it does a 360 view. This whole view, you can see the entire showroom on here, and you can put your finger on here and swipe it round and view different angles. It's very clever. I've never seen anything like it before. You can even press the buttons on the left here and look at your left hand side alloys and right hand side alloys as well. And just a nice little touch. I mean, you don't have to do this, but if you put your indicator on, it'll put the indicator on the actual car itself. Only in an S-Class. Now, I've got my iPad for this here, just because there's lots of technical information here. So, regarding the speaker systems in an S-Class, if you imagine we're in a car, you know, it's compared to like a living room theatre or something like that. It's a small space if we're talking like speakers. But this is where it gets insane. So the baseline system speakers, so the standard speakers you get in an S-Class, there's 9 speakers in here. So that's quite impressive as it is. If you go for the baseline, that's 125 watts. It's got a front bass speaker and an amplifier. Cool, right? Now you can upgrade and go for the Burmester 3D surround sound system. So then you get these brushed aluminium speaker grills, which look very, very nice and complement the interior even further. That's 15 speakers, okay, 710 watts in here again. That's not far enough for an S-Class. You can take it even further than that and go for the Burmester high-end 4D surround sound system, what Mercedes call the elite listening experience. 27 speakers with 4D sound. So 4D sound is the seats can actually offer like slight vibrations to enhance certain bass notes to make it feel like you're in a concert. So 27 speakers, 1,750 watts in here. That's just mad. I have actually listened to a few tracks on the system, and it is beautiful. It's so nice. I can't believe that, 27 speakers. I want that in my car. And then finally, out of nowhere, Mercedes-Benz have made a dash cam built into the system. So this right now is being recorded on the S-Class inbuilt dash cam. Now I'm hoping that this is going to come out and get rolled out to other cars over the coming years or so. I don't know any more info about that for now. But it's got a dash cam built in, so you don't have to have any wires dangling anywhere or anything installed or anything on the windscreen. It's just there. Great. All you need is a memory stick to plug in, and you may need a USB-C adapter. I think I counted 8 in the S-Class actually, but I'll put a link in the description in case you need one. That'll just convert it to a normal USB, so you can plug like a memory stick in just like I have here. Again, another feature as well, the S-Class now has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, which is amazing. And guess what? It covers the full screen as well. So I'm hoping this will get rolled out to other models in the future with wireless support. I don't know, again, any more info on this at the moment, but it's a step in the right direction. A Mercedes-Benz model now has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. Now the instrument cluster, the screen just here, is again very, very special in this car. So there's an option for a 3D instrument cluster, and you may be able to see it on one of my cameras right now. Some pulsating red lights just here, maybe. I can't actually see them, but what it's doing is scanning the pupils in my eyes and adjusting the screen to give a 3D look. So right now, I'm looking at these 2 dials and they look as though they're like floating in front of the sky just behind, and all the purple here with the stars. If I move my head left and right, you might be able to see it on the cameras, it adjusting. Now it might not look quite right on the cameras, mainly because I have 2 eyes and there's only 1 lens, and probably the device you're watching this on isn't 3D. So it won't look quite right. Unfortunately, you'd have to literally be sat here to see this. But it's just so clever. As you move around, you're looking behind the dials. It's so cool. They're just like floating there. Now, if that's not for you, there is a button literally just to turn off the 3D, and then the 3D mode will be off, and you have just the very, very nice OLED screen. But if you do have the 3D mode on, you know, you don't have to have this one. You can swipe through and view different modes. So there's a sport mode here, again with a 3D kind of perspective kind of thing. So these red lines, it just looks like I'm looking through a tunnel. It's really cool, and I'll move my head left and right, and again you might see it tracking on the screen. Then there's one called exclusive, so here we've got the sat-nav map in the middle with dials either side, and even things like the just classic design that you might be familiar with, and then navigation. So again, here is something, attention to detail. So I've got a 3D map here, all like very, very clever 3D tracking as I move my head left and right. The water on the left-hand side of the sea, just over here, the water's rippling. Like, I've never seen it on the sat-nav before. So I can obviously see myself there, but yeah, all the water's there. It's all got the shimmer kind of that you'd see on the water. That's mad. It's so cool. There's some other modes as well where you can view the assistance, to the driving assistance, and then there's a service menu. Even that's all in 3D as well, so like oil pressure and tyre pressures when it's due for a service, so all of it's 3D. Now the bit just above is the heads-up display, so literally just in front in the glass I can see the speed limit for the road, the actual speed, and a couple of driving assistance features on there. But you can control this, so you can change it to have minimal, sport mode, very similar to the red one we just saw. And then there's a thing there called augmented reality. Now what this does, I believe this uses the tracking, which I just mentioned, using the infrared. As you're driving around, it will actually move the arrow. So a bit like augmented reality you may have seen on some other cars where the arrow will go over on the sat-nav here. This will do it in the heads-up display. So that's why this big unit here is a big hole, because it does so much information and it can overlay things over the road depending on different conditions. It's just like, it's so cool. Now the rear of the S-Class is just such a nice place to sit, so if you're being driven around and you're not doing any driving, the leg room in the back is just amazing. I don't even need to measure it because there's just so much room. So this seat in this car can actually move completely out of the way, so if you need even more legroom and you want to rest, you can press a button over here that will give you as much legroom as possible. Now there was one slight flaw with the previous S-Class models. You could do that if you had that option, but to get that seat back you had to manually move each part of the seat that moves out of the way. You had to manually do it to bring it all back. It was a bit of a pain, but I'm pleased to say now there is a one-touch button to move that seat completely out of the way, and also likewise as a one-touch button to put the seat back as well to exactly where it was before. Now this seat will recline and give you as much room as possible, and then this one will move as far forward as possible, and even tilting the headrest out of the way as well. It'll go up as high as it can, and it just gives you so much legroom in the rear. So there's even a little shelf that comes out as well. I can put my feet on and relax. I'll be right back. Now, as I mentioned, if you need to put this back, quite easy. All you do is press this one button here and everything goes back the way you left it, which is amazing because the previous S-Classes didn't do this. So very, very, very good. Now once that's done, basically there's a few things here to control many elements in the back. So these can include things like the heated seats or the ventilated seats, or just individual buttons to move that seat just a little bit out of the way rather than doing the full folding thing. There's memory seats as well, so you can have a position for maybe when you're awake, or another one for when you just want to recline a little bit more. There's also buttons here to control blinds, so there are inbuilt blinds on all the windows, another one going up there, and there's even a blind for the roof and a blind for the rear screen, which is now also going up, so total privacy. Now also included in the rear is the MBUX rear tablet, which is built in here, but there's also one button just to release it, and essentially it's a Samsung tablet that's been coded to work with MBUX. I can control quite a few things from here. So I can control all the ambient lighting, literally change it all, a touch of a button. Let's not forget that multicolour as well. We can also change things like the roller blinds. So for example, I've got the switches there, but there's one switch that does them all. That's cool. And then there's, also mentioned, obviously ambient lighting. You can control a few audio settings from here, and even the ventilation you can control from here as well. So very, very, very neat. Now, engines wise, in the UK, there are 3 engines to choose from. So there's the S350D, the S400D, and the S500. Those last two, the 400D and the 500 petrol, they are both 4MATIC as well. So that's the 4-wheel drive system, which is great because I am based in the UK. It does rain quite a lot. So that's a very welcoming feature. A first for the S-Class to have 4-wheel drive. So the 2 rumoured models, I have seen some rumours online of a hybrid coming out, which would be great. I can't imagine that losing too much boot space. Maybe you lose the underfloor storage part, but or maybe you keep that and have the cables in there or something, I'm not sure. But hopefully there's a hybrid coming out. And then what I have seen is an EQS. Now EQ being all electric, this will be an all electric S-Class, but not with that interior. So that interior is awesome as it is. What I've seen online, Mercedes actually announced a thing called an MBUX hyperscreen just a few weeks ago. And the only way I can describe it, it's kind of just like a complete dashboard that is just all screen. It's got looks like taken straight from a sci-fi movie. It looks incredible. And when I looked at it, I was like, why didn't I think of that before? You know, it's one of those things that you just kind of look at and you think, wow, that's really cool. So I love that interior, but I'm very, very excited to see the EQS interior as well. So hopefully we'll see something this year on that. Now the new S-Class also features rear wheel steering because it is quite a long car. When you turn the wheels, the rear wheels can turn in the opposite direction to reduce its turning circle. If I remember, I think it actually reduces it up to about 2 meters, which is really, really impressive. Now, of course, if you're driving on the road above a certain speed, which I think was around 50 or 60, the wheels will actually turn the same way to aid with driving dynamics and handling. So that rear wheel steering turn the opposite way is only when you're in a car park or at slow speeds. So a very welcome feature. Because obviously it's length. And there we go guys, that concludes this week's video on the S-Class 2021 model. Let me know what you guys think of this model here today. Would you consider purchasing one? It's slightly out of my price range, I won't lie, but it's definitely on my Christmas list with all those gadgets on the inside. Guys, do hit that like button if you like what you saw, and don't forget that subscribe button. We'll see you all next week.